Very, very happy to have here the gaffer from Potros FC, Frankie Ruiz. It's great to have you here on the Set Pieces podcast. How you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning.
Great, great. Well, I tell you what, it's been an amazing story that we've witnessed with Potros right now. But I wanted to kind of get a little bit of background on your personal information for the fans out there. Tell us where you're from and how you got into coaching.
Yes, sir. It's a long story, goes way back, but honestly, so my story is I'm from a small town south side of Savannah called Richmond Hill. Some people know about Richmond Hill. It's a pretty large small town with a school district of a 6A, and for the size of the population is wild. But growing up there my entire life, essentially a Savannah boy, Richmond Hill boy on the coast. And just grew up in a different style of soccer, more Florida based and East Coast type stuff. People would say the Atlanta area is East Coast, but it's still metropolitan. It's still its own thing. So just kind of growing up in that environment is a little different. I played obviously all through youth and all that jazz, and then ended up playing in college. I played at Bruton Parker College, and then after college was able to play a little bit higher levels after that. Once my per se playing days were over, that's when I joined the military. And when I joined the military, I joined in 2005. I did 12 years, did two enlistments in the Air Force.
Thank you for your
And
service.
yes, sir. And honestly, I think that chapter in my life has grown into the culture that I do with our teams, and just the togetherness and the brotherhood and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say I was some Navy SEAL or anything like that by no means, but at the same time, we still kind of have this aura about us where it doesn't matter what branch of service you served in, but the moment you come across somebody that's a fellow veteran, it's almost like a camaraderie thing and a friendship that maybe you never even known the person, but the familiarity is togetherness and can understand where each other came from. So I try to instill that, in the leadership ways of what we do with our players. But that being said, believe it or not, the entire time I was in the military, I was coaching on the side and coaching at Richmond Hill. Started picking up coaching probably back in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. The entire time I was in the military, I think I got over 1,500 to 2,000 hours of volunteer service. Got awarded for that, got a medal for that. Volunteering for coaching soccer in the community
Wow.
and doing it for the less fortunate, this in the Savannah areas that could not pay for the pay to play per se system, and the guys that kind of get skipped over, whether anywhere from ages from like 10 to 22 years old. And, many a days and many a years going out, picking these guys up, taking them home, being father figures, being mentors, and bringing my family into their life. And just showing them like some compassion. Sometimes those households, they can't provide for themselves or they don't have that father figure or stuff like that. So, in a weird way, things happen for a reason. And I think doing that service, that selfless service, some people would say, actually paid off in the end in my journey as a coach, because I never did I think I was going to be a coach full time or do this for a living or anything like that. I had my military career set, multiple deployments, Afghanistan, Iraq, all over the Middle East and
Wow.
South America and in the Central America and Caribbean, drug counterdiction. I mean, you name it. And so, my sole focus was that. And I was like, you know what, this is what we're going to do and continue my retirement and do what I got to do. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Bruton Parker College called a long time ago. And it was right at the end of my second enlistment. And I was debating on that 30-day window. Should I re-enlist? Do I want to be a civilian again? At that time, I had a young son. My son's name is Beckham. He's now 11 years old and he's in
It's
sixth
awesome.
grade in middle school. He plays for Tormentos Academy down in Savannah, and he's been killing it down there. But having him as a young child in that time of my life, do I want to deploy again? Do I want to keep pushing this? And at the same time, growing this craft of mine that I didn't realize I was growing. I was just having fun doing it and enjoying it and helping guys, grow.
Well,
Stayed there for a
let me
while.
ask
Yeah.
you.
I'm
Let me
telling you,
ask
it's a
you.
long one,
I
man.
don't
I'm
mean to
telling you.
no, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you said
Oh,
something very interesting because I didn't know that about your background in the
yeah.
military and the service that you've given the country. Do you find that a lot of what you learned or did in the military translates to what you're doing in coaching? Was that an encouragement as far as, a person like you that's service oriented, that wants to help people? I find it generally is on every level. If you're in
Right.
the military, when you take that out of the military, you apply it in whatever you're doing. And I'm thinking, I wanted to ask you, do you find that to be the same in coaching and helping these young kids get to that next level themselves by setting a fine example yourself? Do you find that?
I truly do. Honestly, in the Air Force has three core values. It's always going to be integrity first, service for self, and excellence in all we do. And just with those core values, you can take those core values in everyday life. And I explain that to my guys, whether I'm coaching a college team or I'm coaching a semi-pro team or just a youth club. And once they realize that your coach has full integrity and that the coach really cares about them, meaning service before self, just helping those guys before I even help myself, and then at the same time excellence forward, excellence in all we do when nobody's looking. I mean, that's the key. Is our training sessions is very hard. I will tell you that there's a lot of discipline, there's a lot of uniformity. The expectations is extremely high. I set a high standard, high discipline, and for them to push each other at that same standard. But I can't have a machine going so hard like that with such a press and such energy and such effort without me also understanding that there's a clock in and a clock out mentality. When we're clocked in, everybody's on the same page, everybody's on that same standard. When we clock out, it's a brotherhood again. You can step away, you can go get a coffee, you can go get a drink, you can go talk about life, you can help with people's relationships, you can give advice, you can just be that mentor for them after that. Sometimes these guys, with our program, with our club, we've had guys young as 15 years old play with the first team, as old as 38, and each person has their own style, each person has their own life outside of soccer. So whenever we're discussing or I'm discussing, having those little tiny conversations throughout the months and throughout the weeks and throughout the training sessions actually build up into a good story. And can you follow up with your guys, whether it's an injury or whether it's a mental thing. And I think on the mental side of things, it's been huge for us. My wife is a 20-year athletic trainer, and she's actually opened my mind a lot to not just injury prevention, but on the mental side of things. Because of a coach like me, for somebody that's a yeller, so somebody that's in your face, so somebody that's going to do this and is set that standard to be high, and understand that it's not bullying. Understand that it's understanding that the coach and the coaching staff knows that you have more in the tank, that you realize, we have an opportunity to keep pushing. You just push yourself because it's a mental wall. A prime example the other day is whenever we were playing at Atlanta United, and in my six, Eric, he looked at me for a sub. I think we're close to stoppage minutes or not already in stoppage time. And he looks at me and he's like, Coach, I am done, man. I'm so spent. And I looked at him and I told him in a nice way. I told him, like, shut up. We're still playing. We're still doing this.
Throw some
And
dirt
they'd
on
say,
it and get out
right,
there.
dude. And then they'd say, I think 2.5 minutes later after that, that's when he scored that final six goal. And that's
Yeah.
just pushing. That's just pushing through adversity, pushing through the strengths and weaknesses, and understanding that, man, we're going all the way through this no matter what. We have to win. And I think on that military mindset, like you're talking about, is that there's no question. There's never a second place. There's never well, maybe next time. No, man, it's right now. Like, live it now. So I do preach a lot about living in the moment. Everybody talks about retirement. Everybody talks about the next step. Everybody talks about the next level. And we all want to be there, and we all want to shape ourselves in that right box. But if we're not living in the moment at 100% in that time frame, in that game, in that practice session, or at 10:30 at night when practice just got over with 40 guys on the pitch, like, that is togetherness, that is buy-in, that is culture. So unless you have that mentality, then this style and all that kind of stuff, it falls through. The game of football will expose liars. And if
Yeah.
you're not putting in the work, the game itself, the 90-minute game itself will expose you. And even how I train my kids, like I said, I introduced Beckham earlier. I also have two step kids, Jackson and Addie Kate. And Jackson and
Awesome.
Beckham are the same age, and they're fantastic. One's going to be a goalkeeper, then obviously Beckham's on the pitch. And then Addie
Oh
Kate's my
man,
little
the
girl,
legacy
man.
continues.
Right, dude. And then my little girl, she's growing right now. She's 8 years old, and I don't know how to say no. And we are a blended family, so I'm still learning that right now. So,
Oh man, that's incredible though.
yeah, man.
It seems to be a part of your soul there, and I think that's what translates to the success of your team. But what brought you in union with Potros to begin with? I know you went through the college coaching, you
Yeah,
came out of the military, and so now you're getting to this other area of coaching in the UPSL with Potros.
that's
How did
right.
that start?
Well, it also, I mean, it's a network, and when it comes to soccer at the next level, if you don't have your friends in your network, and of course, you're always going to have your friends, and you're going to have your haters. And I've always joked and said that it's better to have more haters than it is friends because at least you're doing something right because they don't want to play you.
Well, there's
But
envy too.
right, and the thing is I think it was right after Bruton Parker when I got done with that. I was also very fortunate to do a little bit of coaching in the Caribbean, at St. Vincent's and the Grenadines, the U20 CONCACAF. I got some really good connections in the Caribbean there with some FA presidents down there, certain islands of Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, so on and so forth. And
Oh,
I was
okay.
fortunate enough to get introduced to a lot of those guys. I mean, just that part was a blessing in disguise. It was something that I was doing while I was down there recruiting, and then at the same time was able to you know further my education as a coach and look at how some of these other countries and other programs do things, and just take little things here and there, because I was taught a long time ago that the best advice that you can ever have as a soccer coach is the best coaches are the best thieves. And it's not that we're trying to steal things and do it wrong, but if you see somebody doing it right, study it, look at it, and be like, you know what, I can use that and spin it around. I had a female basketball coach. He was coaching at Bruton Parker. He still is, named Steve Edwards. Fantastic guy. He's a good friend of mine and head coach still there. And he told me a long time ago, I had a big tower out by the field. And I would stand up in the tower and be looking and then go back down and make some adjustments, do all this. And the next thing you know, Steve was standing out there, indoor sports guy, a women's basketball coach. And I asked him about the fifth time he did it. And I said, bro, I said, why are you out here watching my practice standing in the tower? And he said, Frankie, I'll never forget. He said, Frankie, I don't know soccer. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the rules or nothing. But when I'm watching the session, I know it's right because it looks right. It's works. It's happening. The guys are working. Everyone from every position, from the 1 to the 9 to the 11 to whatever, everybody's doing their jobs and it's interchangeable. And for a basketball guy to see that, because a lot of times soccer can translate depending on what your style is for fast break and all that type of jazz. And he loved it. So he started watching mine. And again, he started watching some sessions and probably stole a little bit of things here and there for, the dynamic warm-ups or whatever. And, we can all learn from each other, no matter what sport it is. Man, it could be golf. But on that side of the golf side, because I did have a background, believe it or not, being a college golf coach as well. And I use golf sometimes to tell the guys is like, hey, we can be out here Monday through Wednesday on the driving range, just ripping balls, doing fantastic. But by the time Thursday rolls around, all of a sudden we have a fade, and now you're in your head. Now you got to move your hips. Now you got to open up a little bit more because now you got to play because now it matters. That's overwork. And I tell the guys, like, don't overwork yourselves on top of that. Sometimes just taking a break, stepping away from footy completely, and coming back in about 48 hours, you're fresh again, you love it again, you're ready to rock. So sometimes overwork is that way too, but that just came from over these years learning. I love where I'm at because when you get to a place you're appreciated, you get to a place that loves what you're doing, and of course, winning
Oh
helps, but
yeah.
at the same time, they know my character, they know my family, they know what we try to establish. And I honestly think this is something that's going to grow and it's going to continue to grow what past where we're at now, whether it's with the indoor facility that we have, with how we're trying to grow an academy, or even, maybe adding the women's team going forward. And I mean, it's steady growing, and I'm looking forward to sticking with them. And I don't plan to go anywhere, man. I'm going to stay right here. I love North Georgia. I'm coming from coastal Georgia. And right now, you cannot make me go back, dude. I'm done with the mosquitoes. I'm done with the sand gnats. I'm done with the crowds in Savannah. Everybody says Atlanta's this, Atlanta's that. Listen, you go to Savannah, it's this much smaller and it's that much more packed. So I'm good, man.
Yeah, the grass can be greener on the other side sometimes
Right.
with people, man. But I mean, congratulations on the close-knit family. I love to hear about family situations. It is such a good support system that translates well to, being successful in a career. And so to hear that, it sounds great. But I'm beginning to see a pattern with you. And, the learning aspect and the experience go hand in hand. And as you explain, how where you came from and what you were involved in, I can see where that is applied in everything that you do, not only with Potros, but in your family life and your personal life. And it sets a fine example. I mean, your team, and I was talking to Mark Bonneau earlier, your team is setting an example that's going to be good for others. They'll look on to you and they'll see that success and say, hey, I'm going to steal some of that
Right.
that process and apply it in our way for our team too. And that drives up the quality of the entire conference. So it's an all-encompassing thing there. And so once you got with Portros, you know, did you see the potential that you're now experiencing with the success? I mean, you know, you won the playoffs last year, got into the nationals, and this year it seems like you've gone from strength to strength. And I was telling Mark when I was looking at the team, we did the game against where you played against Atlanta United. I couldn't see a weakness from the
Shot, and
goalkeeper
that
all the way
one's
through
in.
to through the midfield defense, midfield, and attack. And it looked like against a
Potros
team like
FC
Atlanta United, professional coaching.
and
Yeah, it's a
Pedro
young team, but
Lima
you really did display
with a
men
surgical
against
strike.
boys. And I think that comes
Give
from all the
Potros
preparation
two to the good.
and the experience that you've gained, and also the way that you've been able to mesh the older uh, players with the younger ones that are there. Now, when people see the success, sometimes they think it's easy. But what do you find is a challenge now that you're kind of on the top now? You're at the top of the mountain right now.
Right.
But does that make it easier or does that make
No.
it more difficult?
Man, I will tell you, like I'll share something with you about 2 weeks ago. Whenever we were lined up to play against Atlanta United, that Thursday night session, this is the part where it's the hardest. We always mentor, we always scrimmage on Thursday nights against our U23s and ones that's in Division One. Those guys are steady growing, they're a pipeline for us and all that kind of stuff. And we dropped guys to that squad to support that squad to help them grow. And we pulled guys up that's earned it too. But together, both squads are a family. And that night, the U23s, they put it on us. They put it on us hard. And what I was starting to notice and started to see throughout that session that week, going up to Thursday, was I'm starting to see complacency set in. And once
Mm.
complacency starts to set in, man, that's that's worse than having the flu, bro. Like at least the flu will go away. Complacency can last a year. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah, yeah,
it's a scenario where I saw that going on, and kudos to our 23s, kudos to Coach A for coaching them and him learning it and growing with that team, and then putting us, just up against a wall that night. But we needed it. We needed it that night. And then I'm not gonna lie, man, that I went ham. I went off on them. And the thing is, you got to remember, I'm 40 years old. And my oldest player is 38. The next one is 35. The next one is about 33. The next one's 31. Then it goes down to mid 20s, high 20s, and then it goes down to the teenagers. So I can't be like that and just go ham like that unless they know it's coming from a right place.
right,
And there's a lot of players out there that can't take it. There's a lot of players out there that don't like to be spotlighted, that don't like to be called out. And in this moment, it wasn't about a player being called out. It was about the system. It was about the philosophy. It was about our standards being called out. And while I was doing that, I ripped them right there, sitting on the pitch at 10:30 at night. And I stepped away. I said, figure it out. Stepped away after the instruction. Let them talk it up, which is ownership. Let them have it up, whether it's a leader, a captain, or even a silent leader. And then came back, talked to them again, and explained to them about complacency, like I just did. And man, I swear you could see it in their eyes, and it would just click. And
yeah,
everybody just kind of woke up and was like, dang, you know what? That's right. I didn't, that he is right. We weren't pressing the way we pressed. We weren't setting traps the way we set traps. We weren't finding a link play. We were hanging on to the ball too long. We would put our foot on top of the ball and have a look and take a chance and take a look. And I'm like, dude, we play fundamental. We play pivots. We play angles. We play overloads. Stop trying to feel like you got to put the team on your back, because when you take the team on your back, unless you're messy, like you're good. The team's gonna fall off your back, my friend. Like, because now you just screwed us. Now you open up a hole. Now you create an opportunity from the counter on us because you felt like you could do more. And I'm never taking the creativity away from the players. But when you sway away from the system and the system that we built, like you talked about, like you saw where every area channel play, whether it was in the pockets, the space, wherever we were on the pitch, middle third, final third, whatever, everyone has a job. everyone's doing their job, and they're based on not just their position, but how to play that position. So as they're making their transitions, the four go into the six, the five will go into the six, the one will go into the six, the seven's in the six, the nine drops into the eight. We're all over the place and we're always rotating. But when people stop working, that rotation stops. And when that stops, it creates those holes. And that's where you can watch film on us and see how we break down. Is because it could be an individual performance that creates the breakdown. It's never the system performance. The system always creates opportunities to go on goal. And if we can score 50% of 12 chances on goal and score six and they put two on us, it's fine. It's okay because we've been scored on before. And that's another part that I've had to teach them is that don't drop your chins when we score. Trust the system, trust your standards, trust the philosophy because the next chance is coming in minutes. And it does. And then you see where all of a sudden, we get direct and we don't get direct with just our golden boot Nazario. We don't get just direct with just
Right.
Lima, who's right now about to, be able to take that position over if he continues his form, or Kevin all of a sudden jumping in here doing what he's doing. And obviously Mark with just the history of him. We got guys, we got players. But each one of those players, the fantastic part is that they all cheer for each other. They're all each other's biggest cheerleader. There's not a personality on the team that overbears anybody else. And if they do, they end up seeing their way out.
That's
Whether
what
they
I,
see that, yeah, they see their way out, or they are convinced to see their way out. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I'm glad you answered that way because that's the one thing that I think a lot of people overlook when they look at a successful team like yours. They say, "Oh man, they're great. They just have all this great talent,
You're right.
and that's why they're successful." But what they don't understand about talent, there's egos you got to deal with.
Right.
There's ambitions of the different players, and playing within a system. Everybody has to work with it. You
Mhm.
can't have somebody say, "Oh, I don't like the system. I want to do this or that."
Correct.
And so that's one thing. The other thing is, like you say, consistency, which is a quality I think that Potros has had over the past few seasons. There's never really a big up and down with you guys. It's always very constant in the quality. And that's something that's hard to maintain because, like you say, you can get complacent. And then, of course, being at the top of the hill means that everybody wants you. It's a
Yeah,
cup final for everybody you play.
that's
And
right.
so, being able to still maintain that high quality despite all of those things is a testament to what you're doing, but also what the players are doing. And
That's
then,
right.
you're building a support system with your fans, and it's really an amazing thing. But having said that, I had this conversation with Mark earlier. When you're getting to in this season, the fall 2025 season of UPSL, you're getting to this congested set of games,
Oh yeah.
unfortunately. But it's coming off of success. You're in a U.S. Open Cup, going into the fourth round. You're still first place in the zone. You have every reason to expect excellence in the competition and get on into the playoffs and further. But how do you approach that now? You talk about maintaining consistency. How do you keep that level up with so much happening in a short period of time?
Yep. So all that, man, is been forecasting. So I've been forecasting since preseason. The expectations, and the team knows this, all the way from the management to ownership. They know that the expectation has been we're going to have a postseason. We're going to go as deep as we can with the U.S. Open Cup, and we're going to continue to grow. When we do that, we know that that's games after games after games. And like you say, even starting this week, we have a match tomorrow up in Chattanooga, Scenic City. Big respect for Scenic City. They've been doing fantastic, and I do know, like you mentioned, that they're going to bring everything, especially a home game for them, and us traveling a midweek game with guys that have careers. And going back, like you talking about Atlanta United with professional coaches and the professional setup and all that. Well, we got to remember all these boys, including some of these other ones. They all got lives. They all got
Right.
jobs. They got careers. Some of these boys. One of my center backs works a third shift job, gets off shift, comes and trains and goes into shift, or plays a game, goes into shift. We got guys hanging sheetrock. We got guys working office jobs. We got guys all over the world that are just, or all over the city of Atlanta that are just hustling just to make ends meet. So whenever people say that they've had too many games, or they've done this, that, and the other, well, you don't know what's going on in the rest of those personal lives. I got guys working
Yeah.
construction in the dang hot sun all day, and those little boys over there had a game last Thursday. Come on, it's about man management. Man
Yeah.
management is everything. Once you build your team and you have your depth, you got to find the guys that, if you have your number ones, your number twos should be able to take on your number ones. If the number twos can step up, the number ones can rest. So throughout the season, if you look at the stats and if you look at the roster, I've rotated guys like crazy. It comes to a point to where you look at where Nazario didn't play for a long span. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
at
I
the
noticed
very
that.
beginning. Yeah, at the very beginning of the season, Quasey did not play at all. He might have got subbed in. At one game, I think I was in Alabama. I subbed Quasey into the 10, and he's a natural center back from Grenada. And at 6'5", like it was just having fun with it, but at the same time, just get him to play a bit, but not put all those miles. And now this is where it matters. So now
Yeah.
we look at what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're doing at center back, what we're doing in the midfield, and then turn around and face the exact same system again on Sunday at home. So yes, I'm steady doing man management, steady rotating guys, and at the same time allowing breaks. Like going back to what I said about golf, it's just forcing them to stop. Like for example, Kevin came in. Kevin's been killing it right now. He's been a force on the right wing, all that. Last game, didn't roster, didn't start, not because of behavior, not because of injury, not any of that stuff, but just because of wear and tear. So knowing
Right.
that's going on, taking care of these boys and not pushing them to a point to where it could be a career-ending injury. It could be something that could be set them on the sideline for a year, but that goes back to respecting being married to an athletic trainer and her talking and her volunteering her time and coming out with us in those sessions at late at night after working in the clinic all day. The boys have really, drawn to her and trust her. And not just because she has my last name, but because of her experience and her knowledge. At the same time, our management group, when it comes to Chris and Ben and Nick and everybody that's involved in visual and everybody that's involved, media stuff, everyone is a village. So me as a coach, I can focus on the team. I can focus on the tactics. I can focus on the man management. I can focus on what's important for the club to move forward instead of worried about, do I need to register this guy? Do I need to do this guy? I'm telling you, man, the stuff that Chris does behind the scenes is absolutely insane. It's something that I don't even know how this man sleeps. And it's just, it's wild. It's wild to see, and just the reaction and just the how he can just communicate something so quickly and pull up whether it's a standard or a rule or whatever it is, like, no, this is what we need to do, this is what it says, and he is straight up, black and white,
Yeah.
this is how it says, and we're going to live by it. And I'm for that. Why? Because I come from that background in the military. Not saying that Chris is a military sergeant or a captain or a colonel, but at the same time he has a mentality of organization. And I'm an organized person as well. And when you put us together like that, man, it starts to flow and everybody starts to flow with it. But to be honest with you, brother, I think when it comes to these run of games that are coming up right now, I'm gonna have to get real creative. I've been digging through my notes, watching film, and then at the same time just going through the injury reports, making sure everybody's okay, seeing what the rehabs look like, the recovery. We've been doing stuff from dry needling to scraping to, I mean, you name it, every modality that you can think of that we can do for these boys to be able to carry us. Because if you don't have a legit medical staff with you, I don't care what you try, man. Ice spaz ain't going to do it, homie.
Right.
Stretching before a game ain't going to do it. Like I see some of these guys roll out some of that pregame stuff, and I'm like, man, you got to take care of those bodies a little bit better, or come
Starts
November,
way before
starts to
match
break
day.
down.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude. And then, like you say, like what potential I saw when I came in. When I first came in, to be honest with you, I came in thinking that, hey, man, I'm going to do this on the side, help me with my coaching, help me get my footprint as a college coach. But dude, I fell in love with it. I like the people, the organization, the players that come here. We've lost some really good guys, and we've gained some even better ones. The ones that we've lost, believe it or not, we still lose them on good terms. Like it's not anything bad, negative, or anything like that. It's just some people can't play a high press system, or some people will choose not to play a high press system because there is a lot of fitness that's involved, not just on match day, but stuff that we do during the week. And for guys that we say that have certain careers, sometimes their lifestyles might not fit that. And that's understandable. Or all of a sudden they have families. Like we have a goalkeeper right now that has a full family and promised his wife, was like, you know what, I'm gonna take this spring, this fall, I almost said semester, this fall season off and focus on my family and focus on my son. And he's like, Coach, come spring, I'm coming right to you. I was like, all right, that's the way it needs to
Awesome.
be. And I'm with that with any of them. I will never, nor will the organization ever hold anything over anybody to make them feel guilty. You choose to be here because you want to be great. And if you want to be great, we're going to do everything we can to make you great.
Well, you got that football family going there, man. And like I said, you mentioned about Chris. I've known Chris for many seasons now.
Hmm.
Seen the incredible work that he's done. Of course, he's got manager of the season. I don't
Yeah,
even remember how many times right now, but it's for a reason. That's what I tell everybody, you know. And you're setting a standard that's a good example for the rest of the league. And I wish you much success in what you're doing. Just like you. I fell in love with this league. I came into it by accident just doing media stuff
yeah,
and became the conference manager. And I've seen teams come, I've seen teams go, but some of the growth that I've seen, some of the maturity that I've seen happen with the clubs like yours has been an inspiration. And I think it's a good place for players not only to get to that next level professionally, but personally,
right.
in a family sense and what you've built there. So I applaud you in what you've done. I want to thank you for taking time out here because I you got a lot of preparation to do coming up for this
Yeah,
next few games here. And I've enjoyed. I could talk to you all day about so many different things, but maybe what we'll do is I'll have you back on later in the season when it's a little
yeah,
bit
man.
more calmer, see
Mhm.
where we are and everything, and learn a little bit more about yourself and the club and go from there. But I really want to thank you for taking time out now. It's
Hey, no
great for
problem.
the fans to see something that's off of game day and see the human side of the teams and the players that we have here.
That's right, man. It's nothing special. It's just hard work and dedication.
There you go, sir. All right, man. Good to talk to you. And again, best wishes going forward, and we talk to you again soon.
Thanks, brother.
All right.